church that has lasted for over 2,000 years because of the zeal, conviction, and love that many holy men and women had for Christ and his church. Here in Singapore, since Saint Laurent Ambert came 200 years ago, many religious, lay missionaries, and priests have followed and laid down their lives in the hope of building up the church so that all of us know of the salvation that our Lord has bought us. We have benefited much from their toil and sacrifice, from the setting up of schools, hospitals, hospices, and homeless shelters, to tending to the spiritual needs of the faithful in Singapore. It is now our duty to build on their efforts and ensure that future generations will always have the light of faith to guide them. Each of us has been given gifts of time, talents, and treasures, not to be used for ourselves, but to be used for this mission. To develop our young men and women through a holistic education. To inspire leaders who will in turn inspire others. To nurture our children into faithful disciples of Jesus. To form and strengthen the faith of Catholics to be better witnesses of the Lord. To echo our faith to those who are searching for Him. To inspire believers to live our faith courageously and lovingly. And to raise up generations of young people for Christ. To support our clergy who have dedicated their lives to minister to us. To contribute to digitization efforts to grow our faith community. To build and maintain places for us to worship in and be molded in His likeness, including the future Catholic Hub. Just like these saints who in their own ways touched the lives of the faithful here in Singapore, we too have the capacity to be conduits of God's grace and to meet the needs of our church. Let us support the work of the Archdiocese to ensure that the light of the Gospel may continue to reach the hearts of many, to widen and deepen the reach of evangelization so that we can be a more vibrant, evangelizing, and missionary church. Guided by the light that we have received in baptism, let us be grateful for the gift of our faith these 200 years. Continue to ignite and shine with faith, and as one body of Christ, build the church today for tomorrow.
Good afternoon, sisters and brothers. We are glad that you can join us. So, just like to introduce ourselves before we do this sharing. Trillian, shall you begin? Ladies first.
Okay, ladies first. Good afternoon, brothers and sisters in Christ. My name is Trillian. What do I do for work? You know, since work is one of the topic here. I'm a partner in PricewaterhouseCoopers. And in the Catholic Church, I'm involved in the Catholic Business Network, marriage preparation course. I'm also in ABLE, which is a charity for the disabled, as well as RCC Hospice. Yeah, so very happy to be here. Thanks for coming and hoping for a good conversation. Yeah, Lawrence.
Okay, thanks, Trillian, and so good to always listen to you and your sharing and all the various things that you do. I serve at the Catholic Foundation as a board member. My religious community is the Focolare movement, as you may have heard before. And I also serve on the Archdiocese Council for Interreligious Dialogue. Very active with the Office of New Evangelization, and also working together with so many people for the Catholic200SG celebration, which we are having today.
Great. You can see that he's very involved in the Catholic Church. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, work-wise, I serve as a group CEO of innovation consultancy firm. So we do strategy, design, the lights. But more importantly is to try to impact a better world through the work that we do. Yeah.
Great, great. Thank you. And I know you consecrate your business to Mary also, right? Yeah, great, great. So I think for our topic here, we just want to have a conversation between two friends. Yeah, so I think the first question for this good friend is, how does the church view work and money? You know, what are your views, right? Would you like to share with us?
Yes, okay, so show of hands. How many of you think that God is very comfortable with the conversation of work and money? Yes? Wow, hesitant, huh? Okay. The truth is, in the Bible, right, everything belongs to God. Everything, right? Yeah. So that is the assuring sign, the assuring source of our belief. Yeah. In fact, the fun fact, and here's a little bit of a marketing because I'm going to give another talk on Friday. The current economic system, there are a lot of thinkers, writers of the economic system. They came from priests, Jesuit priests and all, and even Franciscans, Dominicans. So there were many thinkers of economic thought that came from the Catholic Church, right? So that's something that if you do further research, you might be, interested to know that, yeah. Okay, so now, in order to help us, right, let's examine how the church see work and money. Now, if we remember during these days, as we are preparing for Christmas and we are in the period of Advent, this is also a period where we remember, because Jesus' coming was supposed to herald a new era. That new era also launched the Christian community. Right? You see the Acts of the Apostles, how the first Christian community, what did they do? They put everything in common. In fact, in the early church, there was no physical buildings. The early Christians were always running away, going around. One of the signs, of course, is the Eucharist, the body of Christ. But the other definitive sign was their ability to care for each other as a community. Material is not just say, I pray for you. Right? That was a very important significance, right? So if we go down the line, actually every single day when you pray the Our Father, you are consecrating your effort, your daily action. And your daily action, if you happen to be working, is part of it, right? Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Which means that our work, every single day we are called to mirror what heaven would do. That means if you are working as a receptionist, your work is to greet another Jesus. If you are a teacher and your student is naughty, you are to see Jesus in the naughty student. Right? If you are a partner, like what Trillian has shared just now, right? She'll share with us some experiences as well. It is to encounter Jesus in all the different work environments. In fact, Pope Francis called those in business and work a noble vocation because we are supposed to sanctify work. If work is basic, in fact, once my religious founder, Chiara Lubick, she mentioned, if you are working in the shipyard, you are not in the monastery, but the shipyards, they will blow the siren, right? You are supposed to treat the siren as a call to prayer, but your prayer is your work with love. Love for Christ and work for the excellence of Christ, right? So those are very important, and these are all covered, and I'm sure some of you are reading Catholic social teaching, and all of those inspired works, and especially in recent days, Pope Francis has written a lot of speeches and exaltations about that. No? So in Gaudium et Spes of the Second Vatican Council, the church is not supposed to be detached or removed from society. Anyway, how can? 1.3 billion Catholics, very hard to remove. Right? So with that understanding, the church asks us to scrutinize the signs of the times and interpreting them in the light of the gospel. That means when we do anything in the society of Singapore, where we open a supermarket, or maybe we are in government, we are doing public policy, how can we bring it closer to the vision of God? The vision of God of love, the vision of God of communion. Yeah? And then we have to evaluate our behaviors and principles close to the Beatitudes. One of the most fascinating study about religion, and if you have time, when Jesus preached the Sermon on the Mount, it was counter the norms of the times. Because last time it's supposed to be, if you have money, you are blessed by God. But Jesus started with, blessed are the poor, right? And Jesus also talked about, blessed are you if you are persecuted. It's a contrarian thinking, of those times. So the Beatitudes is a very interesting, manifesto of the Christian beatic vision of humanity. Jesus didn't talk in very abstract terms, He spoke about justice, he spoke about those who are persecuted, he spoke about those who mourn, right? It was an empathetic way of God among men, yeah? And it's almost like saying, how do we respond to God's call to give aid and preference to the poor and the downtrodden, right? So I always joke with friends, in being a Catholic, there is no such thing as corporate social responsibility. There's also no such thing as ethics. Because by default, if you are baptized, you are supposed to be another Jesus to humanity. You bear in yourself the fullness of the love of God. And that fullness of the love of God asks you to act in accordance, whatever you do. Now, what about money? There's a very important, many a times, Jesus, in his parables, he didn't dislike money. That's very funny. He asked for you and all of us to be good stewards of God's providence. And this word providence is a very important word. Every money that you have received as inheritance or due to your hard work or salary and everything, they are considered God's providence. But God has passed to you for safekeeping. Some friends ask, hey, our Protestant friends are very good, They give 10%. How come Catholics don't give 10%? Then I said, actually, it's not supposed to be give 10%. According to the Bible, it's give 100%. That's what the early Christian community did, no? They put everything in common. But of course, as the church grew very big, we can't ask everyone to put the property, we'll have a nightmare. So the church evolved. But actually, it's everything. But there's another important distinction. Is it just money? It's money and all of your being, your talent. That's why when you serve in the church always tells us, you don't volunteer in church. Volunteer means that's an organization and not. When you are baptized Catholic, you are the church. So you cannot say volunteer. When you can do more means you are living up to your discipleship, right? So Jesus also says to give preference to God alone. You cannot love both God and money. Why? Because they are not the same. When you love God, then money is a consequence. Money, when you consider money, that is how you consequentially understand. So actually, God is very comfortable with money. Actually, God talks about money a lot of times. Go and do this, ask and you shall receive. God also asks, what do we have? 5 loaves and 2 fishes. God also, give me the coin. Which side? Render unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar, unto God what belongs to God. God is very comfortable with it. But we are very uncomfortable to consider the role of money in God's kingdom. That's the trouble. But God asks us to be detached. Why? He tells the rich man, unless you leave everything behind and follow me. Right? Unless. God also asks us, when there will be a time when God will ask you to leave everything and follow me. Right? That is the moment.
So, thanks for sharing, Lawrence, the 4+4 points. But maybe I would like to invite you to share some personal experiences with the audience.
Yeah. So, for me, I understood providence when I was young and I consider my calling or whatever you call it when I was a youth. And I met this, my religious community, Focolari, and they were talking about this word providence, and I don't understand providence because Singapore, we are very calculative. We must have money, then can do project. So one time, because I was already very active in church, then one of the youth leaders said, we need to raise $12,900 for our Malaysian Catholic and Indonesian Catholic to go to Rome. And we need to raise it in 3 months. And I said, are you crazy? This is Singapore. You want to raise that kind of money, you must have 9 months planning. At that time, I was, 18 years old, right? Full of myself, right? And then he asked me this question, do you believe in God? That was very fed up with him. Of course I believe in God. That's why I tell you it cannot be done. So he said, why don't we try? Okay, try. Then he said, then there was a parish of St. Michael. They know us and said, hey, do you mind if we organize a food and fun fair? We need to raise money for our Malaysian and Indonesian Catholics to go to Rome, right, for this big meeting. I said, yeah, go ahead. Then the parish of St. Michael asked us, how much money you want to raise? 12,900. They laughed. Hey, our parish fees day, token, 9,000 already good. 12,000, you try lah. You can use the place, they give us a Sunday, and we did it. I still cannot forget that day. When we counted the proceeds and everything, it was exact $12,900.
Wow, that is a fantastic story.
That changed my mind about money, Not to be so calculative, but to have this understanding that if God wants, really, and this has helped me in my business many times. When I started my business partner is I'm a Catholic, the other partner is Methodist, the third partner is a Muslim. So in the early days, I am the youngest, the two of them are the oldest. Ate a lot of salt, more rice than me. So every time I tell my Methodist partner, trust in providence. Trust in providence, your head. We need to find the sales, right? They said, okay, never mind, we try. Next month, we need a certain amount of cash. We asked Ravi to pray on Friday, because Wesley, they worship on Saturday, and I go for Sunday. One after the other. And we asked the same intention, right? Lo and behold, 2 or 3 occasions, just nice, contract come in, $50,000, $100,000, right? And one time, we were trying to get one of the biggest projects in Brunei. We are the smallest firm, the other 2 firms, multi-million-dollar. And worse, they charge lower than us, we charge 2 times the fee, right? So the bank asked us, why should we give the project to you, right? They said, no, you shouldn't give the project to us because we are good. You should give the project to us if your purpose sees that our scope is in line with you. Then they said, what are you talking about? So in order to test us, the bank actually asked us to do a campaign, an advertising campaign, based on luck, right? And the problem with that was, it's actually not Islamic, right? So we said to them gently, of course, fear of losing the job, but luckily I have a Muslim partner. I said that actually it's not so Islamic if you just do according to luck. We should not have a lucky draw. We should ask people about their stories and how they can find their purpose in saving with you. When we took the plane, my Muslim partner said, wow, Lawrence, we did the right thing, but I think we will not get the project. 2 weeks later, the bank called us. Okay, we'll do whatever you want. And we got the project. So every time it proved to me that providence, when it's done with love, when it's done with purpose, it helps you to find your way back to God again. Then, of course, the third experience I want to share is that in 2014, my company went through a lot of trouble. Actually, it's very funny. We were doing very well as a business, but the sales were just not coming in. Nothing happened. And I was a little bit upset with God because I said, I tried to do everything. I tried to follow you. I tried to live the gospel, but why is it not happening? I remember I was in Trinity Church. I was telling God, show me the way. Then quietly, I understood one thing, an Abraham moment. Because you remember in Abraham, God will ask Abraham for your son, right? And I felt the company was my son. And I felt that God was asking me, give your son to me. Yeah? And I said, okay, Lord, if you want to close down, close it down. A short while later, someone invited me to Rome for an interfaith meeting. I said, I got no money. You want me to come, you have to pay for my ticket. Okay, you come. We'll pay for you, you go. I went there, lo and behold, very strange. If you want to meet the Holy Father, by the way, you better don't be Catholic. If you are other religion, you have a higher chance of meeting the Holy Father. But anyway, somehow, the organizer said, okay, you come with as one of the 14 delegates to meet the Holy Father. I met the Holy Father. I told him what was going on, and I was trying to live the gospel. And I don't know whether the Holy Father heard me, but after that, I said, Holy Father, can I hug you? After I hugged him, I heard in my heart, all will be well. I came back from Rome to Singapore. Suddenly, all the sales opened up. So it's this kind of thing you understand that nothing is in your power, Nothing. If you dare to trust God, God will give it to you. Yeah.
Wow, I'm so in awe with the stories. I've heard this story before, but when I hear it again, I'm still very inspired.
But still,
Yeah.
it's not easy, right, Trillian? So I want to
Yeah.
learn from you because you serve a lot of companies, major corporations, right? I mean, sometimes, when we try to live it in our personal moments, we still struggle with it. But in your field, right, what do you see and how has the journey been, right, in looking at this from your point of view?
Yeah. So I think in the corporate life, you can see quite a lot of so-called temptations and things to do with money and work. They're all related, right? So I started to use really big and red words on the bigger and more obvious things, that we see in the corporate life, right? So like entertainment, right? So a lot of salespeople, to get more business, they have to entertain. So I would like to share this story. One of my friends, quite close friend, he's a very staunch Christian. And he told everyone, no, I'm not going to entertain. But guess what? He is the top salesman in an IT company, right? And he doesn't entertain. But what does he do, That's what Lawrence said. He uses work as his mission. He will do his best. He serves his clients really well, reverts to them very quickly, gives them good advice, quality work, and everything. And the people he attracts to his team are also having the same value, and they're so relieved to be in that team because the team does not entertain, right? And they just focus on the work. So I think, this is a really good example that it's not easy, You're going against the grain, your boss is wondering, how come you're not entertaining? Can you get the sales? But really, lo and behold, the sales are coming in, right? And, Moses and the burning bush, right? So anywhere you step actually is holy ground, even at work, right? So if you can do well, that will be very good. The other things that we see, right, things like, bribery, kickbacks, collusion. I think if you read the papers, there are a lot of procurement fraud. A lot of frauds are, through procurement, right? And this is the flip side, right? The salesperson will entertain you, and if you're the buyer, you'll be entertained, right? So a lot of people are tempted to accept kickbacks, and a lot of procurement frauds are things like maybe, okay, since you entertain me so much, or you're going to give me kickback, I'm going to let you know what are the other competitors pricing their project, so that you can do like $1 less or $1,000 less. You get it, right? Or things like telling your friend, okay, maybe you can quote, but you set up a few more companies and also quote lah. So all the quotes are coming from the same person but different companies, right? So these are some of the things that I guess if we don't have the moral compass and we're not guided by our gospel, right, it's quite easy, to be tempted by all these things.
But how does it start? I mean, these big ones, as you mentioned, they are kind of obvious, right? How do you think those, sinful influences or temptation, where do they actually start off?
I think a lot of the influence is the worldly kind of materialism kicks in, right? Because if you're not close to God, right, and you don't feel that this is wrong, or you separate God and your work, right? So if you go to church, okay, I'm holy moly, then once you're out of the church, some people start scolding people at the car park, right, and everything. Yeah, so then I think that's the divide that people have. And sometimes, they might be kind of influenced because they need the money, right? There's always this fraud triangle, right? Is there opportunity? Is there rationalization? Is there incentive? And when all three comes together, something bad will happen lah. Yeah. So I think these are the things that we see, and I think one of the things that, Lawrence, you'll be quite familiar is work pressures. We all have work pressures, right? Even little things like deadlines, very pressurizing, right? And a lot of times, we face pressure. So for example, for me, I'm in audit, and deadlines are always something we struggle with, right? And they're always very tight. So the clients will say, oh, why must you do all these things? Why must you receive the last bank confirmation before you sign off? Why don't you just follow last year, and you already done it last year? Why must you ask for so many samples, right? And it's not easy because you're facing a frustrated client,
Yes.
not happy. And you know that, oh, if they're not happy, then, then how, right? They might not want to get you to audit again, or they might change firms, So I think for me, then I have to say that I know it's difficult. You have to do a lot of things for us to do the audit, but we have auditing standards to follow. We have to comply with law and regulations. And we have our own methodology, our own internal policies to follow. So I guess even with a screaming client, I still have to sing the same tune, right? And do it, right? But at the end of the day, I feel that, I'm proud of the work that we do, right? You didn't get to sign the opinion because you cut corners and whatever, but you did a proper job. You followed the standards. So I think it gives you a peace of mind.
Yes.
Although it's very, very painful to go through some of these, but I think at the end, if you think back, then you have more peace rather than, cutting any corners. Yeah. And things like, company policies is quite easy to break, right? A lot of people are like, oh, got policy there, but actually we don't need to follow, like, for example, if you're authorized to approve something up to $100,000, but you went to procure something for $200,000, so you split it up, 100,000, 100,000, and it's very, very tempted, right, to do that. Yeah. But I guess now with data analytics and a lot of IT, it's very easy to get caught. All these split payments and, of course, whistleblowing as well. Yeah. So I think these are the bigger ones and more obvious. But if you look at the next one, I don't know whether you can still see the red words. It's smaller and less obvious. These are the things that, if you're not careful, actually these are all happening in the office, right, at workplaces, like gossip and office politics, right? Sometimes when you talk bad about someone, you're making yourself look good, right? Then you get a promotion. Then you get a bonus. You get higher performance rating, right? Then someone might look bad. Yeah. So I guess I'm not a born Catholic, so I converted after I got my second son. So after being Catholic, I realized, actually I catch myself, and every time I do gossip and I have to go for confession, I said, better not lah. Yeah. So what I do is, try to stay out of it. But I think the flip side is that I'm always the last to know what's happening. Yeah, so in terms of who did what, when, where, why, So in a way, don't get the latest news very fast. But I think just conscious about it. Yeah. And I think the third bullet point, claims, right? I think taxi claim, meal claims, Some people might be tempted to have a meal with a family or friends, but then claim it as an office or entertainment claim, right? Or you have your personal trip, and then you're claiming it as a work trip, or your taxi fare, right? So I think these are very small things, but it's tempting, to do it. Oh, stationery. Okay, I got personal sharing, So previously I just take stationery, right, from the office, and don't think anything about it, Then my husband Eugene like, do you know that taking stationery is stealing? I'm like, oh really? I didn't know that, right? And even little things like that, So once I know about it, like, now I look at stationery like, okay, what do I really need? Okay, one pen, and maybe one eraser, for example, and that's it, rather than take one red pen, one green pen, one blue pen, all very nice, right? But you're actually not using them. Yeah. And also printing, are you printing your stuff in the office, your own children's work or whatever, right, in the office? Yeah. What about last point? Using office hours to do online shopping, gaming. But now it's very difficult. Now we are all working from home.
Yeah.
So I think work and life a bit commingled, right?
Yes.
And I think Singaporeans work very hard generally and put in longer hours than the standard hours.
Yes.
Yeah. Of course, if this affects your work quality, then it's also eating into your time.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think some of these things are the so-called temptations that you can see at work, and you really need to listen, making sure that you know what to do.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think discernment, Lawrence, you have a little framework to share.
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe you can share with the rest of us, because I think the next topic is about discernment.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, a group of the professionals and the academics in the Catholic Church, they were asked once by the Dicastery for Integrated Human Development to talk about this vocation of the business leader. But actually, if you read the document, right, it applies to all professions, right? And they use this framework called See, Judge, Act, which is very, very useful, right? So what it invites you to do is to see with the eyes of God. Basically, is what would Jesus do? Then how do you judge the situations, right, according to God's, Jesus' vision of justice, right? And what, Trillian mentioned just now, a lot of it is, yes, you can do it, but why should you do it? You understand the why better, then it will guide your action. It's very different from ethics. Ethics is about there's right and wrong, don't do. That's why I said it's not very Catholic in essence, right? If you go deep into Catholic theology, it's always asking you to be in the likeness and the image and the vision of God, right? So See, Judge, Act helps you to understand that every day you are advancing God's kingdom. Whatever you do or however you act, like what Trillian said, probably nobody will ever find out. Hey, Trillian never take extra eraser. But she is actually generating what we call sanctifying grace because of her action, And I think, I used to serve a lot of funeral mass. And actually at the funeral, you know how a person has lived his life or her life. I remember I was in one funeral service in Rome. At the end of the funeral, as the casket was being brought up, everyone clapped. And why everyone clapped is so funny, because we're Asian, right? It's supposed to be, cry. But people clap, no. So I asked what happened. Oh, this person, she was a receptionist. But because they felt the love from her so well, every time she smiled, every time she focused on living well for the other people, they were so touched by her life, Wow, a receptionist, can you imagine that? A receptionist can bring the light of the gospel to people, So just to say that the acting is a consequence of your seeing and your judging. And not to say right or wrong. Better don't do. What Trillian was sharing just now. No, it's an act of love. It's an act of awareness.
Right, thanks. Yeah, and I think part of the judging also, there are three quite good points from that piece of work is asking yourself, whether are you, selling good goods or good services? Are you doing good work? Right? Think about it. Are you generating good wealth? Is it from bribery or whatever? Right? So as what Lawrence said, what would Jesus do? Right? Yeah.
It's not to ask you to leave your commercial work and only join charity sector. It's not, It's to say that, yes, please do the work you're supposed to do as an engineer, as a contractor, as an architect, as a lawyer, whatever it is, a teacher, but it's asking you these questions.
Yeah, correct. And I guess I personally, have a bit of some of these things that I do when I discern, right? When what is right, what is wrong, I think prayer and Bible reading.
Yes.
Prayer through scriptures. So what I recently done through my good husband Eugene is to pray the rosary with scripture. Actually the rosary is the whole Bible, in 150 beats. So I think with prayer and Bible reading, God's words come alive and you'll be guided by it. Yeah. And also, when you attend Mass, Holy Eucharist, I think you really partake of Jesus and He's with us, right? I think that will really help the discernment. And, reconciliation is the other sacrament that I feel is very healing. Gives me a lot of insights as well. And sometimes, the priest will give you some advice as well. So, my husband also arranges for monthly reconciliation for the whole family.
Wow.
So the Jing Gang will go.
That's a commitment.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us. And now he pull along his parents. So 7 of us every month. So now I'm trying to pull along my parents, which is a bit more difficult, but we'll try. So I think that's really good. Yeah. I put there's Catholic social teaching. I don't go deep in it, but I think just thinking about, the human dignity, to show more favor for the poor. So like, things like, oh, let's put aside some money as a family for charity, or let's do something good, So I think that is also a sort of guidance, right, in terms of that. I feel
and the good news is that for Catholic social teaching, the Catholic Church is the only religion that has something to say for everything. You want to be a teacher, you want to be an investor. Now the latest one is the Catholic Guidelines for Impact Investing. Artificial intelligence also have, bioethics also have. So you can't miss lah.
Environment also have.
Environment also have. You cannot say don't have, because you never do your research, right? So if you actually check even labor laws, dignity of pay, is all there in Catholic Church, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So there's always guidance lah, right? And I think community is very important, right? So.
And if you don't have one, you can join CBN.
Yeah.
Catholic Business Network. It's a great community.
Yeah, it's
right?
really a ministry for the workplace.
Yes.
Yeah. And I guess, you always tell your kids, right, you must mix up with the right company, right? So I think the community is the right company, right? If you have a Catholic community, pray together, support each other, have the right values, then you most likely than not do the right thing, right, at work. I think the last part I was thinking of sharing is spiritual direction and mentorship. But I personally don't have a spiritual director, but I do have mentors. So I think those are important, because sometimes you need to talk it out with someone, right? And the person can give you a different angle to discern or things to think about. Yeah, so I think these are some of the things that I do lah. But I don't know about you, Lawrence. What do you do?
Yes, I mean very much the same. I mean in the Focolare community, when it comes to our ministry, it's all in that same line. The Eucharist is extremely important, and I would say that the community one is the one that helps, because everyone goes through some level of stress and difficulties. You need a safe place to be able to share, right? How you try to live, yeah.
Yeah, and also work community. We are actually encouraging, through CBN also, to form your own workplace. It could maybe not Catholic lah, maybe it's ecumenical, different Christians come together. And what we do at PwC, we have a ladies partners prayer group on Wednesdays, and the guys also meet another day, and we just meet for half an hour to share and then pray for each other. So I think it's really good, if you can have a community, Christian community at work. Yeah. But I guess, the next slide also shows that we are not God lah. So we do fail and we do make mistakes. So I think that's where the sacrament of reconciliation comes in, right? And Jeremiah also says, when you fall down, you get up again, right? So learn through experience, and always have hope lah. I can all do anything, with Christ. Yeah. So I think that's the beauty of our church, reconciliation and healing.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. So I think we have more or less come to the end of our talk. Q&A, I guess.
Yes.
If there's time.
Yeah. Okay.
1 minute.
You can take, one question or two questions or comments. Yeah. Or somebody can share as well. Yes, really.
The question is, if I make a mistake, right, learning from it is fine, but shouldn't I make reparations?
Okay.
And what if doing so?
Sorry, doing so? Yeah. 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 So I think that's a very good question, right? And if you look at the history of the church, so just another fun fact, you know how all the churches are built in the world, in Europe? Because last time in the early days, you are supposed to confess, but if you are a public sinner, you are supposed to make reparations. So installing, supporting the physical building of the church, was one of the things, right? Of course, there are many ways. That it depends on the priest. How many penance you want to give you, right? You're going to walk to Santiago de Compostela until your feet burn. Yeah, also have, right? So any reparations, of course, like what Willie said, you may lose your job, but you just need to consider when is in what we call in recognition of your challenges, how do you come back to God again? That's your own personal action. But then I think there's two other dimensions, right? If the issue is public enough, yeah, you personally you suffer from it, of course. But the church always teaches forgiveness. So you need to come back to it. That means you ask yourself, are you willing to start again? By the way, one of the apostles is a tax collector, right? And there are so many Zacchaeus and all these things, right? Where Jesus reached out to them and they renew, and they become the kingdom builders, And in the history of the church, there are so many of these saints who left everything behind. They used to be very corrupt or whatever, and they are the ones who become the cornerstone, right? So there's both personal and
I think just to add, I recently heard a talk by a priest. I can't remember who, but he said that go for confession, and then your penance will be something that will be what you do. But he also said that if there's certain things that you need to make reparations, but then that you really need a job, and you really cannot maybe tell your employer what you did, for example. He also suggested that you can do other things. So, for example, you put in, you calculate how much you took. Let's say you took $10,000 somehow, and then how much extra hours you can put in to put back the $10,000. So do you every day work 3 more hours for the company, or do certain things for the company, and then over that time you would kind of put back the $10,000. So that was something I heard from a priest. I can't remember who though.
Yeah, but anyway, the other thing that in official church statement, if you have committed something criminal, please go and confess. Please do the right thing, right? So while you go for the faith, you have a social responsibility or whatever you do. I think probably it's the minor things. Maybe you took some stationery, you put back and everything, that's fine. So there's a difference between the severity of the, and all these things. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I think we run out of time.
Yes, thank
so
you,
thank
everyone.
you very much. Thank you.
God bless.
And have a blessed evening.